Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
New developments tonight in the cross-border sewage crisis. I'm Maya Trabulsi. South Bay residents who notice a rotten egg smell have a new tool to understand its health risk. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas explains how it works.
Hydrogen sulfide has a rotten egg smell and can cause headaches, dizziness, and nausea. It's produced by untreated wastewater and sewage in the Tijuana River Valley. The new dashboard updates every 24 hours with hourly hydrogen sulfide readings from 2 monitoring locations. One is at the San Ysidro Fire Station, the other is at Berry Elementary School in Nestor. The website has guidance on what to do depending on the hydrogen sulfide level. If it's above 5 parts per billion, people should limit outdoor activities if the odor bothers them. If it's above 30, people should close doors and windows and use air purifiers. The San Diego Air Pollution Control District plans to purchase 10,000 purifiers for affected residents. They'll use nearly $3 million in funding from the state, the county, and the city of Solana Beach.
Staff has heard the board and community's desire to prioritize purifiers for the most vulnerable residents, including children, seniors, and those with health conditions. We've also heard a need to prioritize those households most exposed to odors.
Kean says they'll partner with schools, senior centers, and health clinics to find people who need them. Local officials asked President Joe Biden and Governor Gavin Newsom to declare federal and state emergencies again last month.
We highlighted that despite improving conditions, including repairs to infrastructure, cooler temperatures, and reduced flows, we are still seeing unacceptably high levels of hydrogen sulfide in the community.
National City Council member Marcus Bush says it's worth asking the incoming Trump administration for the same.
For me, I don't care who it is, what part of red or blue. I just want the emergency declared.
The district plans to add a 3rd hydrogen sulfide sensor at Imperial Beach City Hall. It's expected to be up and running by the end of the month. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
We're cooling down to a low of 51 for tonight, dealing with some clouds, but not just that. I'll tell you what to expect as far as king tides, some rain, and a warming trend that's coming up in just a little bit.
3 more people have been arrested in connection to the string of gel pellet gun attacks in Hillcrest over the summer. The attacks were reported on University Avenue in May. Police identified the suspects as Anthony Lopez Quinones, Arturo Herrera Sesteta, and Angelo Nathaniel Aaron, all 19 years old. They face multiple hate crime-related charges. Our media partner KGTV spoke with one victim who says he now can breathe a sigh of relief.
Brings some relief knowing that there's 3 more people off the streets that were terrorizing our community. It's sad because it makes me wonder what in their life would lead them to go hunt humans down.
San Diego police credit automated license plate readers for leading to the arrests. All 3 suspects are set to be arraigned next week. A Texas man is behind bars accused of planning and researching his own potential attacks on American soil. As Laura Aguirre reports, the FBI made the arrest last week and is now sharing details of the alleged terror plot.
We've taken a suspected terrorist off the streets of Houston, Texas.
A suspect who the FBI accuses of discussing plans for a 9/11-style attack somewhere in the U.S.
He bragged that he would commit a 9/11-style attack if he only had the resources. And he expressed the desire to join the U.S. military just so he could commit an act once he was inside their ranks.
28-year-old Anas Saeed was arrested last week outside of his Houston apartment.
A search of Saeed's electronic devices allegedly revealed pro-ISIS images and communications. Such communications included the discussion on his alleged plans to commit violent acts in Houston and his desire even to use an explosive belt.
Following his arrest, Saeed allegedly told investigators that his planning included researching the layouts and security measures of Houston's synagogues and the Israeli consulate, along with creating ISIS recruitment materials.
Saeed allegedly created and edited at least 5 videos and 2 images that he then sent to an alleged ISIS social media and web designer.
Saeed has been charged with 1 count of attempting to provide material to a designated foreign terrorist organization. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
President Joe Biden is capping off his term with a diplomatic whirlwind. He's making stops in Peru and China before the G20 summit Monday in Brazil. The trip comes as many world leaders are shifting their attention away from Biden. Amy Kiley reports they're more focused on President-elect Donald Trump.
President Joe Biden is in Peru today for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. APEC has 21 member economies. Some analysts say it's an awkward time for Biden to gather with their leaders.
Yeah, he promised that America was back, and instead Donald Trump is back. This trip, as a result, has an air of melancholy over it. It's Joe Biden as a lame duck, and he's not in a position to reassure.
Sources say many heads of state are pivoting their focus to President-elect Donald Trump. Analysts say his America First policy vision leaves allies in an uncertain position.
For a lot of these countries, they're going to have to decide, do they become more self-sufficient? Do they lean or tilt towards China? Do they try to find new partners?
Biden has a trilateral talk with the South Korean president and the Japanese prime minister this afternoon. Tomorrow, he's scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's set to be their last one-on-one before Biden leaves office.
One of the purposes of this meeting, an official tells me, is to have a sort of bookend conversation between President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping to address some of the issues that have arisen over the last 4 years and to chart any progress, if any, that has been made during that time.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
There's some new technology in downtown San Diego aimed at making the area more user-friendly. KPBS reporter Melissa May shows us how it's supposed to help the community enjoy everything the city has to offer.
Meet Ike. IKE stands for Interactive Kiosk Experience.
It's about making downtown feel welcoming, giving people the ability to explore, discover new places, and experience everything our urban neighborhoods have to offer.
3, 2, 1.
The new kiosk was unveiled at the corner of 4th Avenue and B Street this morning. It has dual-sided digital touchscreens with interactive applications that can transfer information directly to your phone.
Real-time transit details, access to local businesses, public events. And did I mention the kiosks have free Wi-Fi? Emergency call button, directly connecting to our clean and safe team and access to social services and social service resources.
Christina Bibler is the director of San Diego's Economic Development Department. She says the kiosks have numerous public benefits, from a digital art program featuring local artists to real-time updates about the weather and road closures.
The added benefit of Ike's providing detailed listings of nearby restaurants, shops, businesses, and cultural institutions further supports our local businesses downtown and reinvigorate our urban core.
These digital kiosks will provide resources for our residents in need, including food bank and free pantries, addiction recovery, healthcare, and connections to our coordinated intake system for those seeking shelter and to get off of our streets.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says the kiosks will also help with public safety.
This is also going to help with our city's need to be disaster prepared. Kiosks like this one can provide mass messaging devices, serve as a mass messaging device in instances of health or safety emergencies.
The kiosks are provided by a company called Ike Smart City, which has kiosks in 15 other cities across the U.S. The company's development director, Jessica Burton, says Ike Smart City pays for and maintains the kiosks.
Neither the partnership nor the city does pay for them. It is an advertising supported model, which is how the revenue is generated. And the percentage of revenues that we do get from the sale of advertising goes directly to the downtown partnership and the city to invest in the city.
At least 50 kiosks are set to be installed in high traffic areas throughout downtown San Diego over the next 2 years. Melissa May, KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the House Speaker pushes the Ethics Committee not to release a report on Trump's pick for Attorney General. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
1 in 5 adults in San Diego County reports being a heavy drinker. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says a new study from Scripps Research links heavy alcohol use to the most common form of dementia.
New findings from Scripps Research are shedding light on how alcohol use disorder could impact Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Pietro Sana is one of the researchers.
We analyzed the brains of humans with Alzheimer's disease and another group of humans with histories of alcohol use disorder, where we can see over and over that alcohol accelerates Alzheimer's.
He says both excess alcohol use and Alzheimer's disease are linked to inflammation. That may help explain how heavy drinking can accelerate the early onset and progression of the disease. Sana says that while more research is needed, these findings could eventually lead to targeted treatments.
So this is a really interesting study that takes advantage of some of the emerging technology that allows us to look at a single cell. So our brains are made up of a massive millions of cells, and this allows us to look at a single cell and understand what's happening in that individual cell.
Heather Snyder oversees medical and scientific relations at the Alzheimer's Association.
I think it suggests, though, that as we develop interventions that may target those pathways, the potential benefit of them may be broader than a single disease. And I think that's an exciting avenue of research that may then really expand the potential utility of different interventions or different therapies as they develop.
The study's results aren't surprising to Kristen Romea, who directs supportive services for Alzheimer's San Diego.
I guess it just further reinforces the things that we're already teaching about diet and exercise and things like that. We also educate families on how substances like alcohol impact people differently as they age.
Romea says some risk factors like age and genetics can't be changed, but limiting alcohol use is a controllable factor that could help reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
And with so many major events happening, many are coping by turning to what is known as doom spending. It's the practice of spending money to soothe fears about big issues, including politics or the economy. But as Mayor Bel Gonzalez reports, financial experts warned that all of this spending can have serious consequences on your wallet.
Now, doom spending is not new, but this idea of purchasing things when you're feeling good or bad is getting a lot of chatter on social media lately, especially as so many people are endlessly scrolling, which financial experts say can lead to mindless spending.
It's a sort of retail therapy at your fingertips.
That little dopamine hit when you click purchase or a box appears at your door, it definitely can make you happy for a moment.
Financial experts like Courtney Alev from Credit Karma say recent major world events are driving doom spending, and people are using their wallets to cope.
Whether that's the economy, whether that's you're trying to find a job, whether that's the election and the unknowns around it.
Bankrate data shows more than half of Americans say they feel they're getting bombarded with bad news online, and this is affecting how they spend their money.
Once we peel back the layer of the money, it really is about the feelings. What's going on? Are you scared? Are you worried? Are you celebrating?
But experts warn this add to cart approach is a short-lived strategy that can have long-term consequences.
This combination of both high interest rates and doom spending, as well as high cost of living, is definitely can be a perfect storm, especially for those younger consumers who are still really building their financial safety nets.
Instead, they recommend putting the screens down and putting your energy into other activities that make you feel good.
Go outside, feel the breeze, feel the cold air if that's where you live, or the hot air, no matter where you are. It helps you to come back to nature, to be like, okay, I need to be a little bit more mindful in what's going on with me.
Now, this advice is especially relevant as the holiday shopping season nears, and some Black Friday deals are already here. The National Retail Federation estimates there will be a record number of shoppers during the Thanksgiving
holiday weekend. In Los Angeles, I'm Mary Bell Gonzalez.
More than a week after the election, enough ballots have been tallied that we can say Measure G has been rejected by voters. The proposed countywide half-cent sales tax would have funded transit projects, road repairs, and maintenance. As of today, the no votes led by around 27,000, which is a gap that's likely too wide for yes votes to bridge. Opponents of Measure G declared victory this week. Unemployment is up in San Diego County. The latest figures released by the State Employment Development Department today show unemployment increased slightly to 4.7% in October, and that is compared to 4.5% in August and 4.3% from a year ago. The unemployment rate for all of California was 5.4%, and national rate was 3.9%. San Francisco's Municipal Transportation Authority says it's on the verge of a fiscal crisis. As Cornell Barnard reports, it's now looking at severe budget cuts to close the gaps, which may put the city's iconic cable cars at risk.
Those iconic cable cars, which climb halfway to the stars, may not be climbing anywhere soon thanks to a looming Muni budget deficit. It's not what first-time tourists want to hear. Can you imagine if they weren't here anymore?
That isn't San Francisco anymore then. So that belongs to San Francisco. That's very famous in the whole world.
Cable cars, one of the main draws to the famous Buena Vista restaurant on Hyde Street, where Tony Poon is manager.
It's impossible. San Francisco don't have cable car. Yeah, this is iconic, and our restaurant here is a destination for all the tourists.
This is the conversation that's been a little, frankly, terrifying to me.
SFMTA Director Jeffrey Tumlin says with a looming deficit of nearly $300 million by fiscal year 2026-2027, everything is on the table for possible cuts, including the suspension of 3 cable car lines, California, Mason, and Hyde, and the F-Market streetcars, which could save an estimated $33 million annually. Tumlin says the stakes are real.
As all of you know, the lingering effects of COVID and particularly work from home has had a devastating impact on the SFMTA budget.
He says the failure of Prop L, which could have generated $25 million for transit, and the new Trump administration could make identifying new revenue sources challenging. Those who work on the cable cars can't believe suspending service is even being suggested.
It's sad that they're even thinking about shutting down this iconic, and it's the only moving national monument.
Former Mayor Willie Brown, who helped Dianne Feinstein save the cable cars in the 1980s, is outraged.
I'm telling you that the person who even considers, because of the budget problems, saying cable cars shouldn't be out there, should be fired immediately.
Tumlin says Muni is now collaborating with the entire region to help close the budget gap and find new funding sources.
We have enough time to solve the problem, but only if we take decisive action.
Cornell Barnard with that report. There's a new effort to save the beloved drive-in movie theater in Santee. The drive-in closed last December. The owners told our media partner KGTV that they planned to sell the property to a Los Angeles-based real estate development company. But one resident launched a petition calling for the Santee City Council to turn the drive-in into a historical landmark.
I personally want to take the lead to try and turn this into a community hub for Santee. You know, whether that be more things that have to do with music and art and culture, to car meets, to training schools, to film festivals.
And the petition has a couple thousand signatures right now. Gage says he wants to have at least 6,000 signatures by December, which is about 10% of Santee's population.
Well, we have a lot to talk about on this Friday. We're breaking down some rain, king tides, and rough surf heading into the weekend, and a warming trend that starts now. Let's go ahead and start off with temperatures for tonight. We're looking at 39 for Oceanside, 51 in San Diego. You'll notice some of those rain icons there as well, and 27 for Mount Laguna, starting to feel a little bit more like winter there. And part of the reason is because of some rain and snow. But first, let's talk about those king tides. That's the reason that we have this special beach hazards statement. This goes through late tomorrow morning. And basically, this is just warning you of possible 7-foot waves and rough surf conditions that you need to watch out for on the coast there. Now, let's talk about the rain. We are seeing rain even as far south as, between Fresno and LA, but also some spotty showers here in San Diego, and then further inland and really in the mountain regions. That's where we're seeing some spotty snow showers as well. So we'll continue to see this as we head into the evening, kind of clearing out by tomorrow, but then we see the return of some rain right here in San Diego by tomorrow afternoon. So keep in mind anything outdoor you might have planned, you might run into a few showers, but this will be very short-lived. We're not talking about a major rain event, but just keep that in mind that there will be a little bit of rain to contend with. Now, temperature-wise for tomorrow, we're looking a bit cooler. We're looking at 66 for San Diego, 65 in Oceanside there, and 35 for Mount Laguna. But don't get used to those temperatures because we are going to see some changes coming up. Taking a look at your 5-day outlook for the coast, this is that warming trend that I was talking about. We're seeing a mix of some sun and clouds, mostly sunny conditions over the next 5 days, warming up from that 65 degrees for Saturday to 73 degrees by the time we get to Wednesday. Further inland, we're starting with 65 on Saturday, warming up to 70 by Sunday, and then bouncing around just a little bit before we end up with 74 degrees for your Wednesday. In the mountains, that's where we're dealing with some of that rain and snow once again on Saturday. Keep that in mind. 35 degrees is your high on Saturday, and ultimately we end up back in the 50s by the time we get to Wednesday. So don't expect the snow to necessarily stick around too long there. Saturday, we're looking at 66 degrees in the desert, plenty of sunshine, of course, then ending up with that high of 73 by the time we get to Wednesday there. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
A partnership between the Old Globe and the USD Shiley Graduate Theater Program was established in 1987. Well, this month, you can see 14 grad students tackle Shakespeare's Henry VIII. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando went behind the scenes to catch a rehearsal.
Shakespeare can change lives. Just ask director Sam White.
My mother, who was a ferocious reader, we weren't allowed to listen to rap music, but she heard me, knocked on the door, and had a big smelly book. It smelled like an attic. She had pulled her big complete works out of the attic, and she handed it to me and told me if I liked lyrics so much, that was what I was going to have to read. Took me forever to finish the complete works. Hated it almost the entire time until I was about 16, maybe 17, and eventually fell in love with it.
Now White is working with the Old Globe and the University of San Diego Shiley Graduate Theater Program to change the lives of a new generation of actors.
When using antithesis, remember that we should hear and understand the juxtaposing thoughts. Love, hate, silly, serious, whatever the juxtaposing thought is, that tension between those two things should be potent in the text. If you know how to do Shakespeare and you know how to do it well, you'll be employed all the time. And so if you know your verse versus prose, your heightened language, your antithesis, your metaphor, remember to use your metaphors to paint beautiful pictures, make them all the Mona Lisa. That's going to really serve you to get jobs, after you graduate. And not only that, those tools from Shakespeare help you do any play well.
The MFA program was started to support the Shakespeare productions out in the festival stage. And basically, Craig Knoll and Sister Sally Fury over at USD decided to start a 2-year MFA program that brought young people, young actors, and teach them how to do classical work so that they can be on the stage with great Shakespearean actors, and then it became an apprenticeship and a mentorship between equity actors and the student actors.
White's directing a production of Shakespeare's Henry VIII with a cast of exclusively MFA students.
But what's exciting about working with actors who don't have a lot of Shakespearean baggage is that the freshness and the excitement of it all for them really bleeds through in their performances, which is exciting. It's almost like they tasted a new food for the first time, and it really has ignited those taste buds. And that sort of enthusiasm, that sort of hunger is something that was really great for Henry VIII because it's not a play that's often done. Anybody who sees it will sort of feel that connection to the play because the actors are so committed.
Henry VIII concerns the early years of the 16th century English king and his political maneuverings as he discards one wife for another. White did not want to try and modernize the look of the production.
I think by putting the play in the 16th century, it really does make it more blatantly obvious that things really haven't changed.
And Jesse Perez wants the students to see those connections.
Shakespeare's really hard to make personal and make it sound human. So I always tell my students to bring Shakespeare to them. And when we're here at the Globe, we're in America, and we get the story through our lens. It's Shakespeare in America. And that, to me, is what's exciting.
The MFA program brings in 7 students for each 2-year program. But when the time comes to tackle a Shakespeare play, 2 classes combine to take on the large cast of characters and to sink their teeth into Shakespeare's words and the music they create.
It is. It's the rhythm, it's the cadence. You know, the verbs are so flavorful that if you have a monologue that has, you know, that's written in verse and it has all of these, I call them juicy verbs, it really, you can't help but sort of be enraptured by the language. Verbs, 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 consonants, consonants, consonants.
The musicality of the language is ringing in ourselves. It's ringing within us. The sounds of Shakespeare are within us, especially if it's done well. You carry a vowel sound out there, it can reverberate in somebody's body, you know, or a bass tone. Forget about it, right? Then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, where's that sound coming from and how is that made in the body?
That sound will be coming from MFA students, bringing fresh, vivid life to Shakespeare's Henry VIII this weekend and next at the Old Globe Cheryl and Harvey White Theater. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.